Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends, guys. Welcome back to our /IDontWorkHereLady, where Karens confuse customers as employees and demand to be served. And in this episode, a raging woman makes a huge mistake by grabbing and pulling OP's hair. And guys, she gets taught a painful lesson that she won't forget. I hope you enjoy the lineup of stories today. Hit subscribe if you haven't, and as always, you can send or link your stories to this email right here. Let's dive in. I used to work at the West Coast division store of Kroger. My family has several pets and farm animals, so I routinely shop at the local farm store, so the staff are familiar with me. Most of the time, I did this after my shift ended, which means I'm in my work uniform, which is black slacks and a button-up gray shirt that has the store logos on them. The farm store personnel wear jeans, t-shirts, and a gold color vest with the farm store logo. So there I was, in the store looking at some electric fence supplies, and this woman kept pestering me and asking me questions about some jeans she wanted to try on from the other side of the store. I politely pointed in that direction of the clothing section and she stomped off. A couple of minutes later, the same woman is demanding I unlock the changing room for her. I'm rather irritated with her over-aggressive Karen attitude, so I snapped, "No, I don't work here, now go away and leave me alone." Again, the woman stomps off. I picked up a few items and start towards the checkout when I get ambushed by the same woman, who now has the store manager with her. The woman is demanding that I apologize to her, and the manager just shakes his head and asks, "Would you like to apologize to this customer?" I tell him, "What for? She's rude, she's obnoxious, and irritating as hell. No, I don't want to apologize." The woman hears that and she screams, "I have never been so humiliated in all my life. You need to fire him right now." At this point, the manager's still shaking his head in disbelief, and he says, "Well, ma'am, I'm not able to do that." And she demands, "And why the hell not?" The manager tells her I don't work here, and she's standing there not able to comprehend. The store manager's just standing there staring at her, and I reply, "Obviously she's not smart enough to figure out that I don't work here. So save us both some time and fire me. Then maybe she'll shut up and go away." The manager then says to me, "You're fired," drawing in even more attention from the customers in the store. That's when I leaned in closer to the woman and say, "Are you happy now, ma'am? That's the third time he's fired me this week. Have a nice day. Thank you for shopping Smith's Food and Drug." I then walked away, and the manager hollers at me asking if he'll see me tomorrow, and I say, "Yep, I gotta get hay and alfalfa." Hearing that, the woman throws down the jeans she was holding and she runs out the doors. All I can say is Opie didn't have to try hard to humiliate her, guys. It seems like the woman did just fine by herself. So this took place a few years back, and I was basking in the glory that was Yankee Candle, enjoying the smells. Now I'm happily perusing my way around the store, picking up votives, as it was a $1 votive sale. So I now have a basket of about 20 votives and a few jar candles. Before me, sporting the classic "I want to talk to your manager" haircut, is Karen. Karen has a candle in her hand and she looks angry, and that's when she says, "Excuse me." Now I ignored her because, well, I had no idea she was talking to me. Now please don't judge me for this, but it's relevant as to why I don't look like I work there. I was dressed in black clothes, black makeup, and neon pink and black hair. I also have facial piercings and visible tattoos. So I turn away. The candle was still in my hand, and that's when this bitch grabs a handful of my hair and she yanks it hard. I saw some employees rush me as I screamed, but the damage was done. That's when I flung my basket and I spun around and smashed her in the jaw with the jar candle in my hand. The woman crumples to the ground, and she's got a bloody mouth and she's hyperventilating about calling a manager. I'm curled up in a ball on the store floor having an anxiety attack and doing the ugly cry. The police get called. At first, the police had me on my face getting handcuffed. I mean, I do look like a delinquent, so I'm ugly sobbing more and freaking out, and they won't let me have my meds that I keep on hand. In fact, they frisk me and take all of my stuff. Meanwhile, the Karen has a huge, smug look on her face, telling the cops to lock me up for attacking her, and that's when 2 employees rush the cops and they explain what went down and tell them that they have video proof. Now, to say that the Karen went pale was an understatement. As soon as the police looked at her and she heard the words camera, it looked like her soul left her body. She also started trying to defend herself, yelling about she shouldn't ignore a customer, it's her job to serve me. At this point, the cops tell her that she's the one in trouble, while the woman is full on crying, getting cuffed with mascara running down her face. The police uncuff me, but they tell me that I have to stay put while they review the security videos. They let me have my Ativan, and the manager gives me a song and dance apology. At this point, there's a crowd, and I want to go home. So thankfully, I was allowed to sit in the back of the store while I cleaned up. In the end, the woman was held responsible for broken merchandise and assault. And I found out that this wasn't the first time she's pulled something like this and assaulted employees of a store. She got off with a slap on the wrist, mandatory anger management, and a fine. Karen, I hope you learned, you entitled bint. Forget anger management, guys. I think Karen getting a jar to the face is enough to teach her a freaking lesson. Like, some people do need something like that to happen to them before they realize, oh, maybe I shouldn't go around grabbing random strangers by the frickin' hair. And honestly, after the number of crazy stories I've read on this sub, I have to say that it is kind of refreshing to finally see a post where a Karen finally gets a taste of her own medicine. Because there's way too many posts of Karens aggressively grabbing somebody with no consequences. Alright. So many years ago, I was exploring Walmart looking for good deals on unnecessary necessities when I was confronted by a sweet, nice woman of about 30-ish years old. Before she approached, I was looking in the tool/car section, looking for a better impact and some nice floor mats for my truck. The woman approaches with a cheery, "Yoo-hoo, I need some help." And I immediately realized that I made a mistake in my wardrobe today. You see, I like to wear vests, and today I was wearing my blue one. Mind you, it was a light blue, akin to the blue worn by Walmart employees, but it had sparkly swirls all over it, and tassels. Don't ask. Well, I decided to be nice and to help the lady out, as it wouldn't hurt to help out. Or so I thought. So I said, "Yes, how can I help?" And she said she needed a video game out of the cabinet and could I please get it for her. I then gave a little chuckle as I tried to explain that I thought she needed help with something heavy, or up high, or locating something, as I don't actually work here, so I don't have the keys to those cabinets. During my whole explanation, the sweetness in her face slowly got replaced with anger. She then screamed how I'm wearing the blue vest and how I do look like I work here, and how dare I lie to her face and that she's gonna get me fired. The whole time I was trying to calm her down and explain that I really don't work here, it was just a fancy vest. She ended up getting fed up with me telling horrible lies to an innocent woman just trying to get a present for her son. She then raised her open hand and pulls it all the way back as if she wanted to slap me. Now in that moment, 3 thoughts crossed my mind. First, am I about to knock this birch tree's teeth in? Second, I don't remember seeing any cameras in this aisle, and most people would take the pretty woman's word over the large, odd-dressed man's. And third, fake it and go with the slap. Well, I went with the slap, but boy did that woman pack a slap. A little too much, because my head smashes into a shelf. And as I look up from the floor, through the blood flowing over my face, I hear, "Oh my God," and saw another woman who had heard the screams rushing over. I then looked at my attacker and saw the fear in her eyes. Now, the look wasn't shame, it wasn't shock, not even feeling bad for attacking anyone. All I saw was fear of her consequences in her eyes. The Karen then tried to run, and that's when the witness yelled out for her to stop. And that's when I grabbed her ankle and she fell and slammed her face on the floor. I later found out that she lost her 2 front teeth. And I really did feel bad for hurting her, but she couldn't get away. Later, after statements and the first aid treatment, I got to watch my attacker get put into a police car while screaming all kinds of threats and obscenities at me. It was nice. Now, I don't know if she got jail time though, I never heard anything after that. Guys, it is absolutely bonkers how quickly people can go from 0 to 100. Like, from "Hey, can you help me with this?" to downright trying to slap a stranger in a frickin' store. Like, guys, I really don't know what makes people act like this. Like, is it entitlement? Some of you have mentioned mental disorders. Some have mentioned Karens having anger issues. How the heck can some people never go, "Oh, you don't work here? Let me go find someone else." Okay, so to set the stage, here's a few facts about myself before we get into the story. I'm an Army combat veteran and I have PTSD, as well as a messed up spine that causes me to occasionally lose sensation in my right foot and leg. Now, due to that combination, I, at 32 years old, have to walk around with a cane, and have been since my mid-20s when I fell and bumped my head on the sidewalk. I also usually walk around with headphones on whenever I'm in public, so I can focus on what I'm doing and not have a panic attack and get home where I belong. So, on this day, it's early December, and I need to buy Christmas gifts for my daughter, 2 nieces, and nephew. Now, while I'm not one to go out shopping because of the previously stated reasons, my wish to spoil the kiddos outweighs my discomfort. So I go out shopping with my girlfriend to a store that buys overstock from other stores and sells them for cheap. So my girlfriend and I decide to divide and conquer. I'll take care of my nephew and one of my nieces, while she takes care of our daughter and the other niece with us, regrouping occasionally if we find something. We've done this before, and it typically does work. And if things get too bad, she waits with a cart while I stand outside for about 10 minutes to get my body to calm down. This being a Sunday, it's usually not packed, but this place was packed this day. Just a sea of little old ladies and their husbands who you could tell didn't want to be there as far as the eye could see, with their grandchildren running along with them. With this, I put my head down after taking a deep breath, and just grab a cart and use it as something to catch myself with, just in case my leg acts up, and toss my cane in, slowly going through the aisles. So after grabbing a few presents, I see a little old lady. The lady's struggling to get a box that's awkwardly large into her cart, with the help of her grandchild, who's trying his best to help her but kind of failing because he can't be older than 5 at most. So I take my headphones off and ask her, "Excuse me, ma'am, may I please give you a hand with that?" The older lady smiles, she thanks me, and I grab the box and look at it. It was a big Spider-Man themed playset with a few action figures all in the box. I set it in the cart. Now, my nephew loves anything comic book related, but Spider-Man and Batman he goes bananas for, so I decide that I'm gonna grab one for myself. At this point, a now much younger lady, Karen, asks me to help her with something that's right down the aisle, saying it's too heavy for her to get by herself. Now, I've never actually met a Karen in the wild, but now I know what they look like and will hobble as fast as I can away from one the next time I see one. When I grab my cane to follow her, I'm assuming it's only gonna be a few feet, since they're short aisles. After we go down what seems to be the length of the store and I still don't see the buggy, I stop her by saying, "Excuse me, ma'am." She stops and turns and says, "What?" I tell her I really need to get back and you made it seem like it was close. At this point, the place was getting crowded and I could feel the countdown of a panic attack coming. I figured I might have about 10 minutes if I can get back to the headphones and not speaking to anyone. And this is where I just got confused for about 4 minutes. The woman launches into an unholy tirade, how us workers are too lazy to help anyone, and I should help her because that's what I get paid to do, and that I should just shut up and do my effing job unless I want to lose my job. I try to get her to calm down by saying I don't work here, but I get cut off before I could get a word out, and honestly, I quit trying after the second attempt and just let her have her tantrum like the overgrown child she is. Now I'm just pissed off and focused enough to where the panic attack is no longer coming, and I just want to humiliate her. I lean against the shelving to steady myself because at this point, my back is killing me. I'm just tuning her out and start taking notes of what she looks like, what she's wearing, something or anything to take her ego down a peg when it's my turn to act like an a-hole. The woman finally stops, thank God, and she's red, huffing. I figured, F it, I'm not gonna insult her looks because I'm gonna piss her off more and smile when I'm doing it. So I say to her, "Are you done? I mean, you haven't said anything yet that applies to me, lady, but if you want to take an actual crack at insulting me, I will wait. But I am impressed with your stamina." The woman looks at me shocked and says, "How effing dare you? I want to speak to your boss right now." I chuckled at that, and then I had an idea. A terrible, horrible, wonderful idea. I say to her, "Sure, let me call them. Always happy to help." I then call my girlfriend and say, "Hey boss, can you meet me over by the toy section by the food and soda? I have someone here that you need to talk to." I then hang up before she could respond and quickly texted her that I finally found a Karen in the wild, and she actually thinks I work here, that I told her I'm calling my boss and to get here and run with it. The Karen tries to start again, but before she does, I ask her, "Hey, could you please wait for my boss to get here? You can tell her everything. Otherwise, I'll just ignore you and you'll just exhaust yourself." This, of course, pissed Karen off to the point where I think she fried her brain coming up with a way to get to me. The woman is just stammering when my girlfriend walks up and asks what's wrong. Karen says, "Your employee will not do his job and help. He doesn't deserve a paycheck." He then insults me. I then ask my girlfriend, "Hey boss, can you tell her how I earn my paycheck?" My girlfriend then smiles and looks her in the eyes and says, "Actually, he gets his paycheck from the VA because he's a disabled veteran and he doesn't work here. I don't work here either. I'm his girlfriend and caretaker because he has PTSD and a bad spine." Hearing that, Karen goes white, obviously feeling horrified about what she had just said and done, and all the people are just staring knives into her. She then manages to sputter, But you were helping people put things in their carts." I then reply, "No, I helped one person put one thing into their cart. It wasn't heavy, it was just big and awkward, and she was old as the hills. You, however, are young and have eyes that work. Do you see a name tag, lady? No. Did you look for one? I'm guessing not. Are you a massive bitch right now? Oh yeah." So the good news is, you pissed me off to the point where you frazzled me out of having a panic attack. So thanks and F you. At that point, I just walk off and my girlfriend follows me. P.S. I did grab that Spider-Man toy for my nephew and he went crazy over it. It does me good to see the little ones happy. So I just stumbled upon the sub and I saw some similar stories, so I figured I'd share this little gem from my college days. My bus was delayed by 5 hours at a long-distance terminal in the middle of nowhere, Florida. I, a short, husky white teenager, was dressed in a black button-up, red tie, and black pants, with my eyeliner and mascara from the Rocky Horror Show I attended, before traveling, probably looking a bit worse for wear. I was sitting for a decent while when I noticed an older lady, who's probably late 60s or early 70s, was trying to do something on a self-service kiosk and muttering to herself in Spanish. The woman seemed to be getting frustrated and she was darting her eyes around for employees, but the place was packed full of people due to the delays around 3 a.m., so not many were around. Someone eventually did stop to try to help her, and I heard her say that she doesn't speak English, causing the person to just kind of look puzzled and walk off. I was in my 3rd semester of Spanish at the time, so I slowly walked over and said, "Excuse me, do you need some help?" She asked if I spoke Spanish, to which I replied that I was still learning, but I would do my best. She then clapped her chest with a literal Dios mío, and we pleasantly worked through what she needed done, and then we went our separate ways. Someone had taken my seat, so I was just standing around for a minute or two when I get the tap on my shoulder. I then turn around to see a large woman with a huge amount of luggage and a child in tow. The kid is nose deep into a Nintendo DS and he's not really paying attention, but she looks me up and down with what appeared to be disgust before demanding that I get her luggage to wherever it has to go. Now, I had no idea where that is, and honestly, I was super exhausted. So I start to say, I'm sorry, but I don't work. And before I could finish, she butts in with, "Don't you F with me. This place is going crazy and every employee's busy. So even an office guy or a supervisor or whatever you are should be out there helping employees, working with customers. I saw you help the other lady, so you can damn well help me with my bags." I then raised my hands and started to try to explain again that I don't know anything and I don't work there, but the lady wasn't having it, and she starts to raise her voice a bit. At this point, her child notices her volume, looks up at me with what seemed to be a mixture of confusion and embarrassment, and then tugs on Mommy's shirt and says, "Mom, I don't think he..." She then turns quick and gives him a little tss. Not even a shush, just that loud click hiss noise that the dog whisperer guy used on TV. She then starts in on me being a lazy, unprofessional snowflake. Just then, the elderly lady comes up from the side of us, shaking her cane at the large woman, and she shouts in the best English she could muster, "You leave my nephew alone. He's a good boy." The big woman then turned to see this old lady with straight up lightning in her eyes and the big bit of mahogany inches from her face, and then she just turns around and leaves with her kid. There was no apology or nothing. Once her and the kid are a fair distance away, I thank the older woman, and she just motions for me to follow her. We then go outside by a bench by the entrance, and she offers me a cigarette as she lights one up. I say, "No thank you." She then pulls a thermos out of her purse, and she offers me some coffee. I once again say, "No thank you," but she pours it anyway, and she comments about how the coffee here is so terrible. It turns out she was visiting from Guatemala to see her son, who works with a company that imports, blends, and roasts Guatemalan coffee. We're both coffee snobs, so we just sit around and chat about coffee, our families, and why on earth I'm dressed like that until her bus is called to board. I, of course, offer to help her with her luggage, but she says she only has one small bag and she's fine carrying it. Definitely an interesting capstone to a very interesting weekend. Guys, I love how the old lady that OP helped came to his defense in the end. Like, how freaking wholesome is that? Like, just good humans helping one another defeat a Karen. And the coffee. Guys, I don't think I've ever had Guatemalan coffee before, but the way OP described it in the comments has me drooling. Almost like sipping a nice, strong, warm whiskey, he says. The best he's ever had. And that, my friends, brings us to another end of our /IDontWorkHereLady. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's wonderful stories. If you did, hit that like button. And if you're not subscribed, subscribe so you don't miss these wacky stories. And if you missed the last episode on the channel, I'll link it right here. OP's new neighbors won't stop parking on his lawn, guys. And they get taught a lesson that they won't forget. Go check it out if you haven't, and myself and Stevie Boy will see you guys in the next one. We love you.